good, y'all? What's good? Welcome back to another episode of Talking That Talk. I go by the name of King Exodus in the Suit, aka X.
What's going on, world? It's your boy Juice, aka Noir and their brother, aka Rising Pharaoh. Today we got our guest coming in, Malakiya. Hey, look, I said it right. I got it right. I got it right. All right, man. So I'm gonna give you a little background on how I met this brother. If y'all know my little brother named Q, that's actually his pops, man. When I got introduced to him, it was more so on the basis like, yeah, man, my pops is so wise and kind of like, yo, let me meet him and stuff. Where we always had these conversations behind closed doors, and I was like, you know, it's always be powerful when you finally get some of this stuff on film. So, you know, today we're going to bless y'all with some of this nice unity that we got going on. My brother, what's your background? Let's go ahead and get into it.
Oh, man, I identify with Hebrew Israelites, if you will.
Okay.
I wouldn't say I'm the typical one, you know what I mean? I'm not with the camp. I actually used to be with the camp, GLCC. Followed a lot of the brothers, respect to a lot of the brothers. But I do a lot of my own research, you know what I'm saying, my own study, and come to my own conclusions, you know what I mean? So that kind of left me on my own little path, man. I say, you know, just really I had to seek out a lot of things for myself, because some things being doctrine, and I didn't want to get indoctrinated, you know what I mean?
Right.
So like I said, I did a lot of heavy study, and even prior to that, man, I went heavy in the books, man, from the scriptures to, like, even before I became an Israelite, I was studying Kemetic studies, Buddhism, Confucianism, Taoism, all the isms pretty much, you know what I mean? Yeah.
All right,
yeah,
so
I was heavy in it, man.
What gave you that ambition to study? Because a lot of people would rather like follow the indoctrination versus get their own understanding. So what gave you that zeal, you know?
I mean, like from a young age, you know what I'm saying, I just wanted the truth, you know what I mean? And even growing up in the Christian church, I was around a lot of very educated Christians, but I knew that when I would touch on certain subjects, they wouldn't go there, you know what I mean? And at first it was out of respect to God, you know, they don't question God. But then upon doing my own studies, it was evident that they just didn't want to go places they really didn't know. Because even sometimes when you get into some of them private conversations with them, it'd be like, well, yeah, you questioning some right things, but we ain't supposed to do that. You know
Yeah. I remember
doing that. And I was like, now, based on that, like, from my understanding, you're supposed to go and, you know, and all that, get understanding. And then from the beginning to the end, it really promotes knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. And you can't get that without really seeking and digging in and like the scriptures say, rightly dividing the scriptures, and even, you know, not just the scriptures, but really seeking wisdom, you know what I'm saying, from all aspects. Like, how do you even know what you stand on if you don't, you know, you limit yourself, if you will, to just this or to this, that, you know what I'm saying?
I like that. You went out and rest on your own path. So gotta ask, man, you got a regular Texas accent, man. Where you might be from, man?
I'm from San Antonio, but pops from New Orleans, you know what I'm saying? Lived in Cali for a good while, so my accent all mixed up, man, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
A brother.
Right. So being that you studied a lot of different I'm gonna say systems and isms, as we say, what's the connections between? Are there any connections that you saw?
Yeah, I did see a connection with a lot of them. Now, as far as some things, it's like basic principles were the same, you know what I'm saying? As far as respecting your fellow brother, love for your community, love for your people, you know what I'm saying? Now, as it grows to a high spiritual level, as far as, you know, understanding Israelites, there's some specifics that deviate, you know what I'm saying? And I understand those, but like I say, even within the Hebrew community, there's no, with us returning back to this, there's no consistency with anybody. That's why you have all of these camps and you have all of these, because there's so much to be learned. And, you know, you get a lot of people, like scripture say, knowledge puffeth up, you know what I'm saying, but charity edified. People get so puffed up on knowledge, their ego, you know, get swole up, and they can't receive anything. Like they used to say, also old saying, they cup is full. Yeah. And I never wanted my cup to be full, you know what I mean? So I was willing to seek, you know, and get some understanding. Just like when people shun the studies of the scriptures and that sort of thing, I see real quick, I listen to them, and then I can see real quick whether it's their ego talking or if there's some depth behind it. And 9 times out of 10, it's a lot of ego, or it's a lot of personal bias. Like, I want to live this way, and based on what my understanding, that's gonna prevent me from living that way. So I don't even want to entertain what it has to say. Correct. As opposed to really searching out as to why it may say that. You know what I'm saying? Because it gives you that you know, some deep understanding to these detriments of as to why. You know what I mean?
Gotcha. Definitely. I mean, man, I got a couple quick things to ask, man. All right, so look, I'm gonna bring this back up. We already on a conversation of Hebrews and Israelite. Could you explain that situation that happened with Nick Cannon when he spoke out and they wanted to take everything away from him, and he was talking about we are the real Jews? Like, we had talked about it in that episode we did with Nick Cannon, Nick Cannon's apology. It was like, can somebody better, you know, explain that? We don't know the correct terminologies or what we already studied or what they call the real Jews, the fake Jews. Like, what's a better breakdown to make people understand what really happened there?
Okay, well, in a lot of different studies, a lot of people kind of agree that we are, let's just say, an elite group of people. And I'm saying we, a lot of the you would call it some people call it the diaspora, some people call it the scattered, you know, black people amongst the nations and that sort of thing. But there's a uniqueness about us. And so I've heard the Nation of Islam touch on it. I've heard Muslims touch on it. You know, even in the Quran. I've heard I was just recently doing some Native American studies, and there was a lot of books on the conquistadors and the first original Spanish settlers and some of the European settlers. They were saying when they got here, there was a lot of woolly-haired, you know, dark-skinned people that their traditions reminded them of the true Hebrews or Jews. And the Jews is like a more modern-day term for it. But nevertheless, we already know whatever your faith is, we know they're trying to usurp our identity. If you in the you know, what they would call chemistry or Egyptology, you know, the European term for it, they're trying to usurp that understanding. You know what I'm saying? So whatever your understanding is, we know we got some imposters. You know what I mean? And they're trying to
hey, you cooking on that, man.
They basically how you say it, what they undermine any movement that we do by kind of taking our legs from under us before we can even stand on it. You know what I'm saying? By saying they're original Jews, they're the original Europeans for that matter, they're the original Americans. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so they've built an establishment and this big lie on it. So when you got people who can touch on that and shed on that lie, especially if they're financing any of your movements, yeah, they gon' hit you where it hurts. You know what I'm saying?
Hit you in your pockets.
They gonna hit you in your pocket. So in a situation with Nick Cannon, he's doing business with them.
Correct.
They gonna pull all their financing out. Like, you know, you ain't supposed to shed light on our evil. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And he based like it's a saying, never outshine your master. And
48 laws of power right there.
Come on, you know, he did that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. He did that, you know.
All right. So we're just like in 10 minutes of hearing you talk, because this is our first time meeting each other. You're very level-headed. At what point in life were you always that way, or did you learn to get that way the older you got?
I guess it was a little of both. On one part, you know, I had a little, I don't want to say fanaticism, but a little over enthusiasm, you know, if I was the word, over enthusiastic about my belief system. Right. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And you know, my mother used to say, whatever I do it hard. You know what I'm saying? I'm very passionate about it. Yeah. So if I'm repping it, I was repping it. But I also learned too that a lot of what happened is that a lot of people, it's like a tree. You know what I'm saying? Like a tree has many branches and limbs and all of that. So a lot of times we think we on a whole different playing field. We come from the same tree. We just branched off. You know what I'm saying? We just different branches within that same tree.
Bars.
Man, I ain't been to church in years. I go.
I
go to your church, man. I go. Sign me up.
I got your ties right now. Right?
Shit, I got you.
Yeah, I got you. Man.
I know it's funny you said something about that, but even with that, that ties, that concept is what scares a lot of people. The pastor pimping, he getting his money, and really even in the understanding of the scriptures, that money was for the community.
Cool.
And a lot of times, because you people tell you it was fruit, it was crops. It could be money, but it was really for the less fortunate.
Right.
It would not all for people who would, you might even be less fortunate, but you might have gotten into a bind. Now you have what we would call like group economics. Now you got something to fall back on.
Right.
You need to be financed. You need to be, you know what I'm saying?
And that's when they go to the church, huh?
Well, politics fucked that up, what you're saying, because when we passed the 501c3 plan, it made churches non-profitable. So the money stopped going to the community because you couldn't really get involved in political aspects.
Exactly.
So it started going to the preacher.
But then they still would get involved in political aspects. I remember going to church and they're promoting certain candidates to vote for.
Yeah, I was just about to get to that.
Yeah, so it's a lot, like you say, it's politics. It's a lot of under the table deals going on. It's a lot of I rub your back, you rub my back. It's a lot of commitments to other groups and networks as opposed to the people that you're supposed to be representing. You know what I mean?
I got curveball, man. I got curveball.
You reverse?
Yeah, I got curveball.
Go ahead.
Me and curveball. So we're talking about knowledge and information. So explain to me your perception of health as being a black male. Is there any kind of dietary regimen that you follow that you believe that's directly correlated with your spirituality? Yeah,
absolutely. Well, I keep the Levitical laws. Like I say, I follow the scriptures. And so I stay away from the shellfish, the pork, you know what I'm saying? I don't eat fish with fins.
No pork on the fork.
You know what I'm saying? Not at all. I don't dine on the swine. No, but you got a lot of people pushing the vegan thing right now. You know what I mean? Real tough. And I don't have no problem with that if that's what you want to do. But my belief system, if as long as it's within the Levitical law, you good. Now, granted, even back then, meat was scarce. That might have been a once a week thing.
Yeah.
So in America, we do tend to eat a little too much meat. But meat, in itself wasn't just a bad thing. You know what I mean?
I thought they treated it like a luxury or something.
It was a luxury. Yeah,
did.
exactly. And that's why you have a lot of meals, even in the past, it had more. It was like meat would be chopped up in it. You didn't just have this big old piece of steak sitting there. Unless it was a feast or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But in America, we do tend to abuse things. We get too much and we overdo it. So I can see where the vegans come in, talking about the health and it being a detriment. But I mean, we ate it for years. You know what I'm saying? Like my papa, you know what I'm saying? He lived to be 98, you know what I'm saying? And he ate that meat, man.
He ate meat, and I had a papa ate meat, smoked cigarettes, and he was still like 90. And and they always pass, oh, you're in a diet too. They're like, so something's got to be correlated within their genetics, like it's not affecting them. That's how I kind of look at it on that basis.
Cause you got to look at the food processing is not the same.
Oh yeah, from back then to now. Yeah, absolutely.
Your chicken ain't the same chicken.
Man. No, look, if that chicken,
even the vegetables ain't the same, man. The vegetables ain't the same. Absolutely.
That's just a bird.
If that chicken ain't got bones on it, don't eat it, man.
Pretty much that's how I am. And even then, some of them, man, you don't want to see them before they leave the farm. You know what I mean?
Right.
They got a couple of wings.
Could you imagine that?
6 legs.
Like you at a restaurant, like, yeah, I want him right there.
The one with the crooked face.
Yeah, with crooked face.
Yeah.
He got a small leg. Yeah, he ain't gonna run.
But that's what's up, bro. You got something I don't want to ask y'all.
Oh man, and look, he ain't lying. This is why he's here, man.
So when you bring up the Levitical laws, I know that anybody that follow those laws shows a great deal of discipline, because if a lot of people had to follow those laws, they wouldn't even bother to even try to have that connection and correlation with God, because it'd be too strict for them. You know what I'm saying? So what motivates you to have that kind of discipline? Not just as a spiritual person, but just as a regular person. What gives you that discipline?
Well, like on the natural side, I mean, I want to live, man. You know what I mean? And then on top of that, I want to live, like the scripture said, abundantly healthy. I want to still be able to get out there with my grandkids when the time come along and play ball with them. You know what I'm saying? Because I knew some old, I didn't see many, but I knew a few old heads. I remember playing with this old dude one day on the basketball court. You know how old heads talk that I'll give y'all the business stuff. School, you're not finna do that. Man, and whoa, what's up, man? You know what I'm saying? And I remember just thinking like, wow. I want to be an old head like that. You know what I'm saying? When I get to that age, I want to still be able to do things like that. You know.
I remember meeting a dude 70 years old doing pull-ups on a tree branch. I was like, man, and it was funny. I'm like, you vegan, right? Like, what? No, I just work out. Simple. He's like, I stuck to my discipline. So I was, he said, 50 push-ups, 20 squats, 100 sit-ups. And he made sure he at least drink half a gallon of water.
It's funny you said there used to be a saying that if you don't use it, you lose it. So you got to kind of tend to keep up. I ain't going to tell you what kind of regimen to keep up, but you definitely need to keep up activity, stay active. I mean, look at the Asian people. They walk every day. And you see them 90 years old.
Small, and they're small. And I keep telling, like, their portions, if y'all ever pay attention to their portions of food, they eat more veggies and fruits, and their meat be small. And they always have a day, I forgot what it's called, but there's literally a day where they all like go exercise. And it's like, yo, they keep, and it's like traditional. Like I remember in a neighborhood where my grandma stayed, there's always it would be an Asian group, and they all be together every Sunday walking together. And they're doing exercise together. Like, you see old people working out, you're like, man. But it was like a tradition to them. And I remember talking to one of them, he's like, hey, that's what we used to do back home in China. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, I didn't know. I'm just thinking, maybe they into fitness real late. It's like, no, that's how they kept up. So that was just very something powerful to me. So, man, I like how the subject is going. We didn't hit health. We didn't hit a couple of different things. So, what I'm about to get into. So, one thing I admire, you know what I'm saying, I like people who stick to what they, stick to what they say, right? Because I was talking to X before. I was like, I had this discussion with you. I was like, I feel like it's a difference when people say there's something and they stick to the rules 100% than it is to say you're this just to be on the safe side, right? So we got an episode we're gonna come up, we'll throw it out there. It's we call religion versus extreme religion, right? You have people who just say like I'm Christian, but they don't. I still want to eat pork. I still want to eat the scallops. I still want to eat the shellfish. Then you got the extreme ones that they call them to be like, no, you're not supposed to eat that. You're supposed to stick to the Bible. You know what I'm saying? They get dead on to them. But then they be like, man, they're kind of extreme. I don't like that. But it's crazy how you don't like somebody who lives exactly by what you're supposed to versus what you just claiming just in case you die so you can go to heaven. Like I say, it's like people kind of play the safe side, and that's what I admire about you because
he ain't picking and choosing.
Yeah, he ain't picking and choosing. Q always say, hey, he sticks 100% by what he preaches. And I was like, if that would have been, the term that most of us live by, I feel like a lot of us are still, whether they want to be a doctrine or not, but they have a core belief to know somebody actually has done it. You know what I'm saying? Right. Versus people who be like, I'm this, and then when you see them do certain practice, like, then they stray away from it. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if I'm rambling, but I'm pretty sure I got to the point. You know what I'm
saying? All right. So I would ask a question, man, like, how important is black unity to you? Like, because you have black people that they come from different thought processes. They have different senses of what their culture is. So how important is black unity to you, just in general?
Okay, well, it's extremely important. Now, you have some brews that feel like if you don't believe as they do, then they can't rock with you. Now, I will admit that. And that's another reason I had to, back away from, like, the hyper enthusiasm with it, you know what I'm saying? I was like, so I wanted to just be, really, I can say I want to follow my doctrine. And even my understanding of it is love thy brothers, I love thyself. Then it also talks about having mercy, you know what I'm saying? Because you have to remember there was a time when you didn't know. And so that's just like this. If you got a son or a father or a family member, and even if they're not living according to how you live, if you love them, you still gonna have some level of understanding, some type of level of trying to reason with them, trying to at least find a neutral ground. I don't mean you gotta follow them or rock with everything that they do, but at the same time, you wanna be able to still collab with them when you can, still build with them on whatever level that you can. You don't want to just throw them to the wolves right away. You know what I'm saying? Now, like I said, you have to limit yourself to where how you interact with them, especially if you're weak in certain levels and you don't want to get caught up. You know what I'm saying? Because like the old people used to say, tell me who your company is, I tell you who you are. So you get to spending too much time with them. You can like stray from your system or your belief, but once you locked in, like kind of what you were just saying earlier, it's a saying, like old saying, like, you know, you got to be like a tree planted by the water. You know what I mean? And this is why I know it's with people with movements. One movement come along and they with this, and a few years later they this, and a few minutes later they went hard with this, but then this come along and they with this. And I really can't respect them, you know what I'm saying? Because they don't have no foundation. Like a tree planted by the water, like, you know, the wind blow, your storm will come, and, you know, might lose some leaves, might lose some branches, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, that tree's still there. Its roots are still planted, you know what I'm saying? But like a tumbleweed, every time the wind blow, you go wherever that wind send you, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so, you know, in the scripture, you know, they liken Satan to as a, you know, lightning as a storm god. You know, Beelzebub, he was a storm god. And so basically, anytime he come with a new movement, whether you call it the spiritual version of him or his physical manifestations, which we, you know, the other people, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we don't.
Whenever they come with the indoctrination and all this infiltration, then you gonna get caught up in that. You know what I'm saying? Just like I just reading a post about sisters calling themselves a double minority, and they not.
Did you see how I just looked at the camera?
Yeah, it's like you got to be careful with that, because, you know, when you know your enemy, immediately when you see it, it don't matter who it comes through, you know where that came from.
Correct.
I don't care how many people it filtered through. You know, I know exactly whose doctrine that is.
Man,
you know what I'm saying? Go
so
ahead.
Double minority. Okay, now I was gonna touch on what you said. Cause, okay, I just had a conversation. Because this is still going with Black Unity. Just had a conversation with my grandma yesterday, and I said, "How was the feminine movement when you was existing?" Because she was born in the late 30s.
Okay.
And she married my grandpa at 20 years old, and she said, "I was for it when things were right." She was like, when, you know, women playing professionally, cool. A woman, you know, having choice whether she wants to work a career or be a stay-at-home mom. She always for it, but she said, I noticed when it started becoming extreme, when they're saying I don't need a man, when she's listening to other women talk as if they're talking on a level like as if they're superior to men. She said she realized she had to move away from it. And I said, I noticed the difference between people who stay feminine at your age right now, she's in her 70s, versus our aunts and other people, our family, who embodied it. You know, I was like, you stayed married the whole time, and the ones who still are single are still on the path. I don't need a man. Men are like, I'm like, yo, what's up? Like, did y'all ever just check the background of this movement? Like, it was, you know, like we always said, it was actually for white women. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And they didn't want the sole be the sole, you know, sole provider. They didn't want that to be the man. They wanted the option to do it. But what they did was just tell y'all, hey, well, look, you're a woman too. Let's all do this together, and we can make something happen. But we always fall for those type of movements where they say, let's do it together. You're gonna get yours. You're gonna get yours. You're gonna do an Oprah moment. We're all gonna get.
Well, the enemy, if you will, they always use the same tactics. They just refine them for the new generation. And so that's what I said. Like, there was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Man, that's my movie, man.
Yeah, the original one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like, man, that's my movie.
Shrek, I don't know if you remember, but there was a scene in there where they had Master Splinter tied up, and one of the dudes came, and he's like, "I'm with the Foot Clan." He represents this thing, and Splinter had to tell him, he was like, based on his rhetoric and the symbol on your head, on your brow, he was like, this ain't nothing new. Like, he knew that this was the product of, you know, someone behind him. He knew it was Shredder was behind it, or whoever the, you know, Shredder came from.
He was once the apprentice of his master.
Exactly. And so he basically knew where that doctrine came from. And it's kind of the same way, you know, when you hear these new movements come out, it's like, you know, based off listening to my elders and just doing my own studies, no matter how it's presented, you can still hear the enemy behind it. You know what I'm saying?
That's powerful.
I like this guy, man.
I had a whole debate.
I gotta do my Apollo right now. I gotta rub on this thing.
I had a whole debate with Juice cousin about that whole topic. Like, the feminist movement, and this came from a man that was agreeing with the effects that the feminist movement had on the black race, saying that it was positive. And I was fucked up, 'cause I'm like, how could you not live through it, but see it, be older than I am, and still think that was a positive movement? So that brings me to my next deal. I already know that correlates with Black Lives Matter. So, on the note of standing out, you know what I'm saying, what would you tell black people that's continuing to fall for the same patterns? How could they stand out and get out of it? I know a lot of them say, well, we don't have movement, so if they give us a movement and they give us notoriety, then fine, I'm cool with it.
Yeah, because you know everything that gets built up gets infiltrated.
So what would you say to those who's looking at these movements and they're falling for the charades, and they might even know it's charades, but they're still going through with it just because they want to be known and seen?
Well, man, indoctrination is still indoctrination, no matter where or how or when it comes. You know what I'm saying? And on top of that, you gotta understand, everybody ain't with it. Like there's a saying, you know, in the scriptures that I follow, that many are called but few are chosen. And you have to understand that everybody's not built to weather these storms. You know what I mean? So, and more so, you individually, if you're able to do that, you got to kind of play the big brother, big sister role. You have to be that, what we would call that light in the dark world. You know what I'm saying? And you got to separate yourself and just stand firm on your foundation without having to argue with them, because they don't understand it or they don't care. So arguing with them, you know, you wasting your time.
Definitely.
So you definitely got to stand on your principles, and in the long run, the people who matter are gonna see that, and it's gonna basically it's gonna rub off on the right people. Because you gotta understand, like, just like in war, man, intel, you know, is one of the biggest things. You know what I mean? Knowledge. And like I was telling you about, like a tree plant, a lot of these people, they just follow these movements. It's crazy. I be seeing old heads that I looked up to, man, and you see them every time a new movement come out. You see them jumping on with it. You know, I don't knock the skinnies. Yeah, I might even got a couple of the slim wears myself. When I see, you know, cats that was a complete no to, and they almost wearing the skirts or the real, you know, the tights now. You know, it's like, whoa, you know. and no shade on if that's your thing, but I'm just saying, I'm using that example to say that people not who they portray they are, you know what I mean? And like you were saying earlier, you know, people are not really with the business like they claim to be. You know what I'm saying? And so you'll see that in time when they jump ship and they're doing something else and they're doing something else. And like I was telling, I tell all my people, I tell my boy, you know what I'm saying, your strongest muscle is your brain, man. And so a lot of people, I don't care how big and strong they look on the outside, you know what I'm saying, even if it's in a physical fight or whatever, you can win a war against them if this is stronger than them. You know
crack them mentally, everything else falls.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah, so like Ali, you know what I'm saying, Ali, and I use Ali Foreman situation. He was a more cerebral fighter, even though at that time Foreman was Mike Tyson on ×5, you know what I'm saying?
×5. that was a beast right there.
You know what I'm saying? But he still ended up whipping them, being more cerebral than him.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
So, let's dive into your background, man.
Hey, hold on, man. He was getting good, man. We gotta stay on this unity right now, man.
Alright, so let's go into your background, man. A lot of people like to admire the man before them at the current moment, but explain to me your transition to becoming this person that you are now, in the past versus how you are now. What motivated you?
Well, from the beginning, like I said, I was raised up under that hardcore old school Christianity. And I don't like to throw the baby out with the bathwater. So with that being said, there was a lot of good stuff that came from the real Christians. Granted, the majority of people in the system that I grew up with, they was you know, flimsy with it. But there was some people that really understood it, at least to their level of understanding, and they stood their ground with it. And they really set some standards for me, because I seen them benefit off of just being consistent.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Off of based on whatever understanding that they have from it. And granted, this is the information age, so we have so much access easily to information that they didn't have. So like, you know, like when some of my elders, I was able to come back to them and really break some things down to them And believe it or not, most of them didn't receive it. And so, you know, one day I had just, you know, I didn't want to get disrespectful, but I had to just get disrespectful kind of. One of them was like, look, man, I'm not trying to take away everything you did. You was my foundation. But I'm trying to let you know this is the result of seeds you planted. I've grown now. You know, you want to stay stuck in the mud, and I'm basically coming out the ground already, so I'm coming with fruit now. And I'm not taking, but you got to understand, so it's going to be presented a little different than you're used to it. You know what I'm saying? And so, like I said, so many, my own family who yeah, they Christians and they look at me like, yeah, he with that stuff. You know what I mean? Saying? Like, and it's like, I'm reading the same book you read.
Yeah, remember I said, like, they'll read the same book, and then, but if you are different, Orthodox, it's like, I don't know, man, I don't know.
They don't even want to give me conversation.
Yeah, it's crazy because
he's the weird guy.
One of the biggest things I always said, I said, I'm really sad because, you know, churches are building left and right all the time. I said, one of the biggest things I noticed, if every church is reading the same Bible, why doesn't any of them ever say, hey, you can go to